Okay, well, we're going to move to the most exciting part of the day, artificial intelligence. I love being able to talk on this topic because it's been very captivating. It's only been a couple of years plus that we've all become aware of this term, and there's a lot of times some confusion around it. I mean, we hear terms like predictive AI, generative AI, reasoning AI, and we just kind of nod our heads, oh, what the hell is this? So I'm just going to give a little brief explanation, and then more than anything, I'm going to talk about what some of the practical uses are. Some of the first AIs that we became familiar with would be predictive AI. So on our phone, when we start to type and words would come up. So predictive AI was one of the earliest forms. So based on historically information, it would predict, well, what would be the next word? And it would come up with a few choices. So predictive, we all got accustomed to it in a lot of things that we would start to type and see that come out. The next part, which is really where we got captured a couple of years ago with ChatGPT, was the first talk about generative AI. And generative AI is where you can ask artificial intelligence a particular question or a particular inquiry. It might create, that might create some form of text or something in writing for you, or an image, or a piece of music, or video even for that matter. So generative AI was really where we all of a sudden started to see this shiny object and go, wow, and cool. And about a year and a bit ago, it seemed that everywhere you turn, someone was advertising a workshop on AI. We both attended some of these workshops, and we found that they were really similar in that it was early stage. So an AI talk usually meant, well, come on over here, I'm going to show you some really cool shiny objects. If I type in this, you get this, and this is a picture I created, etc. And it was neat, so a lot of people played with it. How many of you have used AI? Okay, excellent. Are there any people here that pay for an AI tool? Oh, we have two people paying for it. Okay, all right. But everyone's used a form of it. So when that first craze came out with generative, like a lot of people were using something. When I go and talk with businesses, if I ask people, well, do you use AI? Almost everyone now will say, yes, I do. But yes, I do can mean a whole wide range in terms of how they use it and how they apply. So you generally have to dig a lot deeper into the conversation. But now it seems that more businesses and organizations, they don't care about showing another shiny object of what you could do with something. What they're saying now is, okay, well, what can I do with it in our business or our organization that's going to make our life a little bit easier or better? And that's really where we focus our time. And in this talk, I'm going to show some case examples of common ways that we work with organizations in the practical use of AI. The last form of AI, which is a lot more recent, is what's called reasoning AI. And rather than like a ChatGPT that would give you an instant answer, reasoning AI thinks about it. It takes time. And in some of these cases, while it's thinking about it, it's actually showing you what it's thinking about and how it's coming through its reasoning to do it. So this now is becoming a very strong AI tool in terms of researching or giving a really complex question where, just like any of us, we have to take time and we have to think about it. There's no quick answer, and sometimes we've got to look at it from a lot of different angles. There's some misconceptions. I'm just going to list off a few, and I'm going to ask you if any of these resonate with you. AI will take my job. Deep fakes, fake news, I don't know what to trust. AI is going to eliminate creativity, or AI doesn't need human input. When I say those things, how many of you here might think, feel, or have heard others talk about AI in that particular way? Yeah, I think we all have. And I think it would be unnatural if we didn't have some hesitations about things, because we see some things online that we're quite surprised by, that what is real, what isn't. And certainly there's a lot of questions about where do I fit in? Where do my kids fit in? We have 2 kids, graduated university, and as a parent, you look and say, well, what's it going to look like? What are the jobs going to be? And being in this industry in a very deep way, I'm very comfortable in saying that this is not about replacing our jobs. What it's doing is it's changing where we are in the workflow. So at one time, and still with a lot of people, we do sometimes a monotonous task over and over again because we kind of have to do it before we can do something really good. Well, AI is incredible for doing repetitive tasks over and over, not complaining at all. It's like having an assistant that you can ask to do anything, and they're just going to say, sure, when you want to buy, and they'll go out and work on it. So usually AI doesn't deliver us something in a perfect form. We still need to look through and, did it get it right? Did it understand it properly? Does this make sense in this particular application? So what we end up being is more that, evaluator and looking, oh, okay, well, you kind of got it there, but you know what? I need you to tweak this a little bit more. I forgot to maybe if you do this. And so we get to use it as an assistant back and forth, but it might do a whole ton of the legwork first. Then our part in the workflow is the part that really takes the human, the part of what we know best and our skill sets, and we can focus a lot on that. So does that make a little bit of sense? And so common applications for AI that we're seeing now in business, I don't take notes anymore when I go into a meeting. I have lots of meetings. I sit a lot of times one-on-one. I had chicken scratch. It was hard for me to read a note a few weeks afterwards. So now I use, right now, everything that I'm saying is being transcribed for me. I'll get a summary of this, and I'm actually going to make the summary available and a slide deck to everyone here in the room. So if you need notes on it, it's all captured. So when I go into a meeting, I use tools that will capture what I'm saying and what others are, transcribe it, and not only transcribe it, but organize it into, if I want it to be in the form of minutes, it'll transcribe it into minutes. If I want action items, I can have it translated into action items. I can have it broken down into almost any way that I ask it to do that. And that's one of the ways that I find that's a time saver for me and for a lot of business people. Writing and correspondence is another extremely common tool that people use. Not that the AI can write necessarily better than you, but how many people have had writer's block? Someone says, I'd like you to write something for me on this topic. And you sit there, yeah. All of a sudden you can't think of it. You can't get things in your mind, but you can use AI to give it a bullet point form, say, I'd like something written on da-da-da-da-da, give it some notes, tell it a little bit about, who it's for, who's the audience, how you'd like them to feel maybe, or what you'd like the end result. In a click of a button, all of a sudden, you have an answer. But one thing I learned very quickly was, unlike asking a human assistant, where we don't want to overload a human assistant, now if I ask AI to give me something that's a writing, a written tool, or for maybe it's some content for a website or a blog I want to put up, I'll ask it to give me 6, 8, maybe even 10 different versions. And I'll ask it to explain to me the rationale behind each version. And just like that, I press the button, and if I was a human, they would probably tell me exactly where I could put that. Because what you want what and when, but AI doesn't care. It'll just do it. If you ask it for 20 versions, it'll do it again. So now all of a sudden, I can look at all those different versions and I can say, okay, I kind of like this. I don't like that at all. I like that. And all of a sudden now I can use the creative part of me to put together those parts. But what it did was it did all that heavy lifting of quickly getting some ideas in your mind all of a sudden into a structure and then refining it. And then you could give AI back the copy and say, can you go through it a little bit more for grammar? Maybe a particular audience, maybe it's people where English is a second language. I would like you to change the context of this for people that have English as a second language. And it will have the ability to now restructure what you've done for other audiences, things that maybe would take us way too long to do. So those are common ones when it comes to writing or creating content. I've put together a couple of case studies that we're going to get to shortly on some other items that we often get asked for from businesses, and standard operating procedures and employee onboarding and training materials are a very common one where industry, government, employers of any kind say it's tough. And especially those that either have seasonality or have the spikes up and down within workflows. So you often are training the same information over and over again to people. Oftentimes when you're peaking up and down, that's when you have the least amount of time to devote to training. So we're going to go into a little bit about how you can use some of these tools for that. Also, knowledge. We have knowledge from all directions. We have knowledge from our systems. We have knowledge from our suppliers. In government, you may have knowledge about all your procedures, etc. How do you find those things at your fingertips? And there's great AI tools, and that's another one of the case studies I'm going to show you, where we can use AI's ability to look at thousands and thousands of pages and other material and remember it and have access to it just in a second for us, rather than us going through a hard way of looking, because we know it exists, but we can't remember exactly where it is, and we're taking a lot of time to find it. We all collect data, and it's been a common thing for a lot of things. Even today, we're trying to collect information about who came out to here for us. But oftentimes we collect so much data, and we don't know what do we do with it. How do we parse it into something meaningful? AI again becomes a tool that can help us with that. And sometimes when we're business or an industry that's front-facing, where we have a lot of the same questions are asked all the time to us, whether that's by email, phone message, you name it, call centers, and AI can be really good where we can train it to even look at our inbox from our info section, and we can give it parameters to say, okay, in these specific inquiries, these are the answers, and you can go ahead and respond. So it can respond 24 hours a day with it. We can also say to it, if it's this type of inquiry, well, this is maybe an upset person inquiry, we don't want to have AI respond, but we want AI to reach a manager right away so it can be escalated and dealt with. If you are in sales with an organization, you can have it can determine, is this an inquiry from someone new that is interested about some information that you have? Realtors find this very helpful. If this is a request, well, right away you can have it escalate and reach out on a text directly to a person that might want that information instantly, and it's there at your fingertips. So these are some of the common things that we get asked for it. Before I get into the case study slides, what I'm going to say is that other bits of technology that we've had over the years, they've been things like shopping for a quart of milk. Right? I need to get a website. Okay, great. I go in and look up, who has a website, make me a website. Or I need email. Go and order up email. But you can't really say, I need AI, because AI really isn't a specific thing. AI is, we'll call it another form of an intelligence, but it's to do specific something. So if I meet with a business or I meet with an organization, just because I spend a lot of time in that organization, or a lot of time in the industry of AI, I don't have a crystal ball. I haven't been touched by the right hand of God, so if you ask me, what do I need for AI in my business? I can't tell you that. But if an organization says, okay, well, can we sit down for an hour or two and talk a little bit about what we do, who our customers are, what are some of the things that we do over and over again, and what are some of the things that we really hate doing, but we still have to do them because it's important to our business. So we often start our conversations there. And because people like Michael and myself and others in our team spend a ton of time looking at new things that are coming out, looking at how they're being applied into businesses and organizations, we can often look and say, okay, well, here's maybe 2 or 3 things here that might be helpful for this. That might be a starting point where we experiment and where we engage with staff, managers in the organization, try to look and get all the input so that the tool is actually helping and not causing more problems or issues. So it's a very collaborative approach when we get to that. That's a unique part of where we fit into the business, the organizational ecosystem in the interior. So let's look at the first case study. Many businesses are inundated with information that is only occasionally accessed and rarely at our fingertips. Printed versions of supplier catalogs, brochures, and manuals have been replaced by digital PDFs, comprehensive manufacturer websites, and even supplier knowledge videos on YouTube channels. We now have AI tools where we can store digital versions of all knowledge relating to our business and be able to access exactly what we need in seconds. Let's take an example of a lawnmower repair shop. A customer inquires about an oil filter for a Groundsmaster 360 unit. Sure, an employee can take the time to review the 395-page service manual PDF, but that's not very efficient. Alternatively, you could simply make that inquiry with an AI tool that archives every repair manual available. In seconds, the information is at your fingertips along with citations referencing the specific manual. But how about all the manufacturing training videos that are available online? These too can be archived and accessed. Here's an example of a technical manufacturer's YouTube channel. A dealer can archive every video in an AI tool for instant access. After a simple inquiry, not only do you have the answer, but the AI will also open the training video at the correct timestamp regarding your inquiry. Our Central Interior Business Accelerator team not only stays on top of the latest AI tools, we also work with businesses to understand what information they specifically need to access, how to archive that information, and even how to train managers and staff in change management. Manuals, anything that you have in, whether it's in a PDF form, whether it's in a video form, whether it's in an audio file, whether it's on a website, etc. We can load all these things into different AI tools and we can just make a simple inquiry and it will go in, I don't know, some kind of split second. It will look, read, and review every single thing that's out there that we've given it as reference. Then it will come up with our answer and then it'll show us where it got it from for us to double check. So in a lot of industries, that's incredibly helpful as a time saver. So you don't have to be as organized in terms of where you put things or house things. I kind of look at tools like this for all the different things that we have. We can just instantly get them. So some of the applications would be, just suppliers, catalogs, other things within your organization at your fingertips, but also any training material, any videos, YouTubes, that you don't have an hour to go through something. You can just have it quickly looked at by AI and say, is there anything about this in there? And it can look at it and tell you, and then point you exactly where it is. And then at times with business, sometimes looking at what our competitors are doing, having their websites, etc., being able to query every once in a while, is there any new products? Is there any new services? Is there something going on that maybe we need to be aware of? So you can use it in a lot of different applications. So it's a common one that we get asked about. But again, we need to sit down and then figure out what makes sense within an organization. What do you want to capture? How do you want to be able to find it? So the next case study is on one that relates to standard operating procedures, SOPs.
Hello everyone, I'm John, your safety trainer for ABC Trucking. Today we are tackling an essential topic that can make all the difference in your work routine, preventing slips, trips, and falls. 3-point contact must be maintained when entering and exiting your truck. When entering and exiting your truck, always face your equipment. This technique keeps your center of balance properly aligned and helps you maintain better control. Remember, whether you are stepping up or down, always establish 3 points of contact. This means 2 hands and 1 foot, or 2 feet, and 1 hand should be in contact with the truck steps at all times. We all know how easy it is to rush when we are under pressure. However, taking that extra second to ensure you are secure can prevent serious injuries. Never let go of your handhold until you have firmly secured your other foot. Always be mindful of your surroundings too. Before stepping on or off your truck, check the steps and the ground. Is it clear of water, ice, or any debris that could lead to a slip? Uneven ground can be just as dangerous, so approach with caution. Your safety is worth the time.
The ability now to be able to make safety SOP videos is huge. Videos tend to be more engaging. We can communicate things often in a very, very strong way. There's applications where you can have, in a case where there's a requirement for recurring training for staff, maybe in a particular safety things, they have to review certain safety videos every 6 months or every year to remain active. They can be put into a system where they can just log on as an employee and make sure they keep themselves up to date. It monitors to make sure that they actually watch the entire video and check off that they understand at the end. So they're wonderful from a compliance point of view, but they're also huge for, there's a big emphasis and duty on employers to allow employees to succeed. Oftentimes, we fail as employers in not having the time and all the resources to make sure that our employees get the training they need to do well at what they do. And these are some very practical tools that can enhance the ability for employees to succeed. Digital knowledge banks aren't just from an employee point of view. Oftentimes they're for customers that we might, we don't operate 24/7, but we know that people have different times that they want to look and access information. So we can have knowledge banks that are available for our customers or our public to look and get some good information that can limit the amount of direct inquiries that we may get later during our workday that could be handled at any hour. The first case study video that you saw, where I was talking about putting the training material or having the knowledge data banks. Did you notice anything specific about that or different about it? How many of you thought that was me? Well, it's kind of me and it's kind of not. That's a digital version of me. This is how far we're moving along. So for efficiency, I had an AI tool that cloned my voice. All my mannerisms, it took a while, and another video one that clones my image of me talking. If you saw the rest of me, it clones my hand movements. So I could deliver a training video by using an AI tool also to help me with the content I want to say, and then the voice would be done automatically and a version of me could be in that portion. You might say, wow, that's a little bit creepy, and my kids think it's incredibly creepy because they don't like virtual dad. But when you think about some of the other applications, if we were a large organization and we wanted to, have our trainer being the same person always training, but they don't have time to make these or anything else, we can use some of these assistant tools. There's also, the second video was a stock virtual avatar that, again, you can give it the information that you want to say and it will deliver it. And then you can use an AI tool to create a bunch of the rest of the video. It does a good job. We were all listening to it in English, but if we had a multicultural staff, in just a couple more buttons to press, we could have it delivered in the same training video in French, in Punjabi, in Mandarin, whatever it was that we needed to. So we're getting the ability to communicate to broader audiences. And this circles back to, as we're coming right up to the end of my talk, this circles back to that original part about We have challenges that we're facing in terms of our supply chain, getting products to market, etc. But we also have a lot of tools now that we can communicate, get our products, reach out to other markets in their native tongues. We can write correspondence to other countries talking about our products or services and be able to communicate with them in a fairly effective way. It's not perfect. And just like all the AI tools, we still have to look at those things and we still have to tweak or adjust. But it's giving us an ability that we haven't had before, and probably in perfect timing to a lot of what's going on right now globally and with our trade partners in the South. We'll click, just got 2 more quick slides and then it'll be right on time. We're always available. You can book a 30-minute call with myself or with Michael just to talk specifically about, maybe that question. I might have some questions for you. We can go into a little bit more detail. You can come on to our next webinar where we'll talk specifically. We'll take different components or tools and talk very specifically about them, so you could actually take that knowledge and apply it right to whatever you're doing that same day. And so a very practical approach. Also, for those of you that want the slide deck that you've seen and a summary of what we talked about, because I'm just going to have AI do the summary for me. I don't have to put any work to it, or any of the other intellectual property resources, you can just reach out to us and we will get that all out to you digitally.